Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to talk to you today. My name is Julian. I'm a principal evangelist focusing on AI and machine learning at AWS. And today I'm going to talk to you about machine learning on AWS and how it can help you improve and transform your education business. So we have tons of stuff to cover. We'll have some time at the end for Q&A, so let's get started. Just before we start, I just want to point out we have a series of webinars. This is the first of the series, and I'll be happy to run another one next week, a more technical one where I will show you how to actually use the services, and we'll go through some demos. So if you want to see how to build that thing, just stick with me and let's discuss this next week. We'll have two more webinars. We'll have one focusing on Amazon Polly, our text-to-speech service. So if you have voice applications, this is probably one you don't want to miss on April 24th. And last but not least, on May 10th, there will be another webinar on Amazon SageMaker, one of our newer services that lets you build end-to-end machine learning applications. Again, a pretty technical one. Okay, you can register at the same URL that you used. So, well, if you want to learn more, just go to that URL, and we'll be happy to deliver those additional webinars. But let's keep going. So if you want to get in touch with us after this webinar because you have some projects that you want to get going, this is the email address to write to, edtechteam@amazon.com. Please make sure to use that subject. That will help us find you quickly. And please give us as much information as possible on your project, and we'll get back to you really quick. And we'll put you in touch with the right people and the right team to get you on your way and to help you start your successful machine learning project. All right, so edtechteam@amazon.com is the place to go. So what are we going to cover today? First, of course, we're going to talk for a few minutes about why AI and machine learning matter, why you should really be looking into those. Then we'll talk about machine learning at Amazon to give you some examples of how we actually use those technologies to build pretty advanced applications. And of course, the bulk of the presentation will focus on use cases for our different services. And I'll try to give you some examples, hopefully some ideas of machine learning applications and AI applications in the educational space. And well, hopefully that will get your creative juices flowing, right? And you can start building stuff as well. And of course, we'll share some links and resources to get you started as successfully as possible. As you probably know, AWS has been working in the public sector for a long time now. We have, as you can see, a large number of government agencies, educational institutions, and NGOs working on AWS, and we also have a dedicated AWS region called GovCloud for federal agencies. So we're not new to this, and when it comes to education customers, we're very proud to have all these fine institutions and companies as public customers. Of course, I can only talk about the public references. So very, very cool startups, if we can still call them a startup, like Coursera, and universities like Harvard and University of Chicago and Berkeley, and a whole lot more, research labs as well. So a mix of ed techs and universities and research labs have been using AWS for years and years now, just for, of course, general infrastructure purposes. But as we will see today, in some of the examples I will cover later on, an increasing number of them are also using AWS for AI and machine learning. So if I asked you, how important is it today for your organization to invest in machine learning and AI? Probably most of you would answer that you're not a machine learning company, you're not a machine learning organization. These things are not key to your business, and for sure you have more important topics to address. And if that's your case, that's perfectly fine. Don't feel bad. Most of the companies, most of the organizations I talk to usually answer this. But now, if I asked you, how important is it for you to deliver a better learning outcome for students? How important is it to actually help students be more successful, learn better? Of course, most of you, and I'm probably all of you, would say, well, that's what we do, right? This is our number one priority. We help people learn. We help them be successful. But if you ask me, well, that's pretty much the same question. And the purpose of this webinar is to show you why this is really the same question. So Amazon is famous for its flywheel, its continuous improvement, its virtuous circle. You could design actually a similar flywheel for data. So let's look at this and let's see where AI and machine learning would fit. So, I guess we would agree that more data in general will help you build better analytics, understand better the way that your company works, and hopefully using those insights you could build better products, okay, and improve customer satisfaction, or improve the user experience, or optimize your costs, or whatever your top business problem could be. And if you do a better job at this, it's likely that you will have more users. Your product will be more successful, more engaging, friendlier to use, and whatnot. And so again, having more users should bring you more data. So if we look at those actual items in detail, data could be anything. I mean, data is all around us. It could be clicks on your website, any kind of user activity on mobile apps, web apps, business apps. It could be user-generated content that your users upload to your website, comments, videos, pictures, reviews, etc. If you're in the e-commerce space, of course, purchases, clicks are going to be important. And even if you look at social networks, retweets, likes, etc., all of these are meaningful. And if you were in the IoT space, sensor data, of course, is very important. Building management and that kind of thing. It's data as well. So you want to collect that data and store it and start analyzing it. And well, AWS over the years has built a number of systems to store and crunch that data in general. And it could be small data or big data, but at the end of the day, AWS will give you those solutions, and those analytic systems will help you understand the past, what happened in the past, how's your business running, how your customers are using the service, etc., etc. But it's only about the past and maybe just the present if you do real-time analytics. But what you want to figure out, of course, is the future. You want to figure out, you want to predict things. You want to guess what your user might be interested in. You want to recommend content, etc., etc. And this is where machine learning fits. So machine learning is about predicting the future, pretty much, using that past data to predict the future and make your product smarter. Okay, and we'll see again some examples during this webinar. So this is where we fit. We look at the future, and we're trying to pretty much guess what our users would want. So before we dive deeper, I just want to take a few minutes to clarify some definitions, because we see those words thrown around all day long, and unfortunately, some of those definitions are not used correctly. So AI, it's a science. It's been around since the mid-50s, and the purpose of AI is to build software applications that exhibit human-like behavior, and that could mean speaking. Understanding speech, understanding natural language in spoken form or in text form. It could mean reasoning, the ability to actually reason beyond the scope of explicit programming, and even intuition, right? Predicting the future, making very educated guesses and very precise guesses at future events. Within AI, there's a subdomain called machine learning. It's probably the most successful one. And machine learning, as the name implies, aims at teaching machines to learn behaviors without being explicitly programmed. So instead of writing code that would explicitly give orders to machines, we use standard algorithms. We let those algorithms learn from data sets, could be text or video or images, anything that you want. And machine learning is going to build a model that will help a system predict what the future will look like, okay? Predict new samples. And within machine learning, there's another subset called deep learning, and deep learning specifically uses a technology called neural networks. I'm sure you've heard about those. And the difference between deep learning and machine learning is that neural networks are actually able to understand very complex data, unstructured data like text, video, images, music, voice, etc. And neural networks are able to learn automatically the features, the patterns present in that data sets, in those data sets, something that machine learning cannot do, and humans have to actually do that before machine learning works. It's called feature engineering. So with deep learning, you don't have to do that. Neural networks are smart enough to find the patterns. And this is why this technology has been super successful lately, working on complex stuff like images and videos and voice, because patterns are too complex to be figured out by humans. Okay, so in this scope, we're going to focus mostly on machine learning because, again, this is probably 99% of the applications today. And a good example of that is what Amazon has built over the years. So, of course, if you go to the Amazon.com website, you will see our personalized content. You will see product recommendations. And if both of us surfed to the same page at the same time, we would see vastly different things because we have different interests, and because possibly Amazon.com is testing different pages to see which one would work best, right? So personalization, recommendation, even altering the layout of the website is important. And of course, we've got those orange robots. Probably you've seen those. You can find them on YouTube if you're interested. And today we have over 50,000 robots moving around in our fulfillment centers, carrying the products in the shelves to the picking teams, so the people who actually prepare your orders. And of course, these are based on AI and machine learning. They move autonomously. They have to avoid collisions, etc., etc. The Echo family of the Echo devices, of course, again, use AI and machine learning for natural language processing, speech to text, text to speech. All of this stuff has been built by Amazon. And the last one I want to point out is Amazon Go. If any of you live in the Seattle area, you can actually go. It's now open to the public. So it's a grocery store, and you can just walk in, pick some stuff, and walk out. And you don't have to stand in line. There are no cashiers. You will receive your bill within a few minutes of leaving the store. I've been there myself. It's quite spectacular. So again, if you get a chance to visit it, I strongly recommend it. It's a fun experience, and this works because we have cameras inside the store that do image recognition and see what you pick, and they're pretty hard to fool, I have to say. I tried it myself, couldn't fool them. And the drone deliveries, of course, they're still being tested, but they're coming to a fulfillment center near you, hopefully in the future. So all of these examples are just practical machine learning use cases built by Amazon for its own use, and we've literally been doing this for 20 years. But when it comes to AWS, of course, what our mission is to bring those same capabilities to everyone else. And we think today more AI and machine learning is built and is running on AWS than anywhere else. And these are just a sample of our AI and machine learning references. So very large companies like Netflix and Capital One and the NFL, of course, huge names in the US and elsewhere. And of course, some smaller startups, because as you will see, these services, they're not just built for the Netflixes and the Capital Ones of the world. We want every single organization, even individual developers, we want them to be able to use those. So that's really what we're striving for. And I couldn't fit all my references on one single slide, and so I had to have another one because I didn't want to leave out cool names like Slack and NVIDIA and Hotels.com and Digital Globe and all of them are great. I wish I could talk about every single one of those, but hey, we have to focus, and I'll just give you some examples later on. So our machine learning stack today looks like this. We have a first high level layer of what we call application services, which are API services for vision and speech and text processing. And of course, they are based on machine learning and deep learning, but you don't need to know anything about those to use them. They're just one API call away, and any junior developer can use those in 15 minutes. So they're super powerful, but they're also super easy to use. Then for some more advanced users who want to actually train on their own data sets, who want to build their own models, tweak their own algos, and generally need more control, we have a layer of platform services. And one of those services is Amazon SageMaker, which I'll talk about in next week's webinar. Plus, we will have as well a dedicated webinar on SageMaker. So if you're into the more I would say if you're more of a machine learning specialist, this is probably the one you want to look at. And of course, at the lowest level, you can use AWS servers. We call them instances, and you can fire up any number of servers to run your own training jobs yourself and manage everything yourself, just like you would manage your own infrastructure. So let's look at a few use cases now, and I grouped them by topic. I didn't want to focus on services for now. Again, in next week's webinar, we'll talk about the services more, and I'll give you some demos. But here I wanted to focus on actual use cases. So let's try to figure out how image and video analysis could help you improve your education business. So we've thought about this, and here are some examples. And I'm sure you'll have more. So please share your own ideas and your own examples later on during Q&A. So a first example would be maybe to make sure that people who take exams are actually the right people, right? Make sure if I'm showing up for an exam that I'm actually the person I'm saying I am. So we call this the virtual proctor, right? Compare images and to actual faces. Why not? Another example would be you could look at the classroom reaction during a class. It could be online or it could be in person, and you could do sentiment analysis. You could detect emotions on the students' faces to see, okay, are they confused? Are they happy? Are they bored? Just to get a feeling, it could be a real-time indicator for the professor as well to say, okay, the class seems to be understanding what I'm saying, and they look happy, so I'm doing a good job. Or maybe 90% of them look confused, so okay, now I need to slow down and explain that thing again. And of course, you could use this technology to take care of school and campus safety. So the main service we would recommend here is a service called Amazon Recognition. It came out about a year and a half ago, and it's able to do live real-time analysis on images and videos, right, including video streams. So you can do object and scene detection, so figure out what's in a picture or what's in a video. So detect objects, and you would get labels and confidence scores. You would just figure out what's in that picture. We can do facial analysis, so find faces in pictures, find the actual position of the face and the landmarks, the nose, the eyes, etc. I'll show you an example on the next slide. We could do face comparison. So that would be actually interesting to, for maybe authorization, identification, etc. We can do celebrity recognition, so maybe that's less important in an educational setting, but for, let's say, the media industry, it's pretty useful to be able to recognize movie stars and singers maybe in pictures and movies. You can do image moderation, which is important if you want to prevent improper content from being uploaded to your website. And we can do text and image, which, as the name implies, lets you detect words and sentences within an image. So you will see on some of those slides in the lower left corner the thing that says free tier. And what this means is you can actually, if you have an AWS account, you can actually test the service for free for the first 12 months that follow the creation of your AWS account. And up to a certain level of usage, you can actually just use that service for free. Okay, so you can do a certain number of API calls to Rekognition, and it will be absolutely free. So please feel free to try those services. Make up your own mind and send us some feedback. So here's a real life example. This is actually a picture that I took in India. I was lucky to be in India a few weeks ago, and I run actually a SageMaker workshop for this crowd of Bangalore developers, and well, they seemed pretty happy at the end. So we took this big selfie, right? And I ran this through Rekognition. And as you can see, we detected all those faces pretty much, and we can find, the positions of the eyes, the nose, corners of the mouth, etc. And we would get extra information like, does each person have a beard, a mustache, or glasses, and do they look happy or sad, etc. Okay, this is really a visual representation of the information that Rekognition would send you back, but in reality, you get this information in the response API, and of course you can process it in your app. So this is just an example in real time of detecting 20 or 25 faces. We can detect up to 100 faces in a single picture. Here's an example of a customer using a Rekognition video. It's the City of Orlando Police Department. And of course, as you can imagine, one of the main missions for a police department is to, of course, figure out what's happening on the street, and if dangerous or unusual conditions are just being detected on the street, then of course they should react. So using cameras deployed all over the city, they can funnel those video streams into Amazon Rekognition Video. They could look for in real time for missing persons, or of course persons of interest. They could detect maybe accidents or fires, all kinds of potentially dangerous situations, and just figure those out in seconds automatically. And of course, this would allow them to dispatch the proper response to take care of the problem. So this is an example of using Rekognition video. And again, when it comes to school safety, campus safety, just campus monitoring, using this same technology, Rekognition video, would let you achieve similar benefits. Here's a slightly more advanced example. This is a startup. It's a UK startup called Onfido, and those guys didn't use Rekognition. They built their own deep learning model. They use an open source library called TensorFlow. It's a very popular library. And they trained a face recognition model using TensorFlow and our GPU instances on AWS. And the main application for this, as you can see from this picture, is to verify identity. So by looking at the face and the photo ID on the document there, they can actually with a very high level of confidence prove that this is actually the same person. So maybe again we were discussing virtual proctors. Here's an example of that. If you have online courses, it's very difficult to verify the identity. Most MOOC platform ask that you send actually a scan of your passport, and I guess that's not the easiest way to do it. So here you could actually solve this if you have online courses. You could validate your users, validate their identity with a similar technology, or maybe on Fido. Why not? You should talk to them if you're interested. Let's talk about voice for a second. So our service for text-to-speech is called Amazon Polly, and well, Americans will understand the joke. they will understand why this service is called Poly. I guess most of the rest of the world doesn't get it, so that's fine. And this is a text-to-speech service, and it supports 25 languages and 52 voices. So we have male and female voices, different voices for different languages. And it's as simple as this: just pass a text string, and I believe this is Swedish. You would select one of the Swedish voices and just call an Amazon Poly API, and in real time you would receive the sound file that you could, of course, play in real time. It's fast enough for real-time conversation, or you could archive that file and play it later on during course delivery, for example. So there's a free tier for Amazon Poly as well, and if you own an Echo device, well, actually the Echo voice, the Alexa voices, are generated by Poly. It's the same technology that powers the Echo devices. So what could we do with this? Well, this one's obvious, right? You could, of course, add voice to all your content. Slides, web pages, any kind of written content could be enriched with voice. So again, this could work in archive mode. You could go through historical classes, last year's classes, and generate podcasts, audio content, etc. Or you could do it in real time. So you could actually show slides on a screen and in real time generate audio content for this and broadcast it to whoever might be listening on that, or again, maybe even generate a podcast in real time. Why not? Obviously, this would be super helpful for students and learners who would have a problem with written content. So anyone with a visual impairment or visual disability could benefit pretty easily from the same content generated by Poly. So here's an example. It's an Amazon company called 10 Marks. It's actually it's an ed tech company, and as you can see from this example, they use Poly to build voice instructions for their math practice. So you can see that little icon on the slide, and you could just click on that loudspeaker icon and listen to the exercise. So that just for maybe young children or again people who could have disabilities. This is just an easier way to access content, and it's very, very easy to implement. Well, this is close to my heart, I have to say. So Troy is one of my colleagues. Is a cloud architect based in the US, and so Troy has a son who is a special needs kid. He has a pretty severe form of autism. And so it's, as you can imagine, it's pretty difficult for Troy and his wife to leave their kid at home, and it would require, of course, constant supervision, and that's really it can be very difficult for parents to handle, as you can imagine. So Troy built using a combination of AWS services like Poly and a few others services. He actually built a system that he deployed in his home. He called it Polexi, and it's based on a Raspberry Pi. And so all across his home, he deployed those devices, and they let his wife and him interact with his son wherever he is in the room. So they can actually, using visual signals and voice signals, they can actually make sure he's okay, make sure he gets what he needs, and just that's the way, using this service and this system, he actually came up with a very clever and a very efficient way to communicate and engage with his son. So you can read more at this blog post, and there's a YouTube video that you simply have to watch. If sometimes if you question how technology is actually improving our lives, well, I have to say this is the best example that I've ever seen. So, and it could fit, of course, very well in the professional setting. If you're taking care of special needs children, this could be an excellent way to interact with them and make sure they're fine. So please take a look at this YouTube video. It's 5 or 6 minutes long, and it's a better explanation of Polexi than I could ever dream of delivering. And Troy is really a great guy, so well done. Now let's talk about natural language processing. So what could we want to build here? Well, of course, we could analyze digital content, just search through your massive archives of courses and content to improve search and recommendation for students, or just let them query your collection of courses and figure out maybe what they should study next, or what a relevant next course would be, or maybe they could follow an online class to catch up on something, etc., etc. So just figure out all those archives. You could organize and categorize them automatically. Just figure out, maybe you have 50 years of courses, maybe you have 1 million research articles, and they're not so easy to organize and categorize. And you could do this automatically. Another interesting example, maybe students are not going to like that, is to detect plagiarism. So compare paper topics from one student to the next, or one class to the next, and see if you see disturbing similarities. Why not? And of course, you could also analyze sentiment. So if you have chat rooms, surveys, student comments, forums, etc., you could just go crawl that and perform sentiment analysis to see if things are going well or not. So we have a new service to do this. This was announced at reInvent 2017 in December. reInvent is our annual conference in Las Vegas. It was 43,000 people last time, so pretty big. And well, you might consider attending 2018. It's a really fun event. There is a free tier for this service as well. So Comprehend is going to do exactly what I described. It's going to analyze text, which could be social media, it could be short form text, tweets, emails, etc., or it could be bigger collections. And if you do have 1 million research articles, Comprehend can handle that as well. So it's going to automatically extract key phrases, entities. So entities are maybe people, places, product names, the important bits, pretty much. It's going to extract that automatically from text. It's going to perform sentiment analysis. It's going to do language detection, which could come in handy as well. And if you have that million that million document collection, it can also build topics. So it could organize those million documents automatically and build topics. And a topic would be a list of words, of meaningful words. So let's say if you had a stock market topic, maybe it would say, maybe the words would be, I don't know, revenue and earnings and quarter and CFO and that kind of thing. And if you had a computer science topic, then probably it would say programming language, operating systems, algorithm, data structure, that kind of thing. So automatically Comprehend is going to group those documents by topics, and you can index them based on this information. And of course, it makes searching them and finding them and recommending them so much easier. And again, this is just one API call away, no infrastructure to manage at all. The Washington Post, I'm not sure how many million documents those guys have, but they've been around for a bit. And so they have to have a large collection of documents. And they actually use Comprehend to process those archives and those articles. And this basically allows them to extract keywords and entities from articles. And they can then use those to personalize the reader experience, to recommend content based on those keywords, and to do some other things like search engine optimization and maybe ad tech optimization, etc. So in an education context or in a research context, you could of course do the same thing. You could just index with Amazon Comprehend your vast collection of documents and automatically recommend them to students, to professors, and just make that content easier to find, easier to search. Full text searches are not that efficient. So if you have topics, if you have keywords, this is of course so much more efficient, and this is what the post is doing. Let's keep going. We have more services and more ideas here. So let's talk about translation and transcription. So, well, translation, I guess, is another one of those obvious use cases. Who wouldn't want to be able to deliver their content into many different languages with little effort? Of course, I guess a lot of people do speak English, but not everybody does. And so if you have to deliver classes and courses in parts of the world where you want to localize the content, then translation is important. So of course, you could translate this manually, or you could outsource the translation to humans, but it takes a long time. It's quite expensive, and generally it does limit the amount of content that you get to translate. So here, by using an automated solution, of course, you could affordably and automatically translate pretty much everything that you have to translate. You could use this maybe to build captions, multi-language captions for video courses or MOOCs. That's a popular option. You could also translate user-generated content if you have again, in the context of the MOOC, if you have maybe foreign students who don't speak English very well, then they could use their native language, and you could translate. You could actually interact with each other, interact with the professors, etc., with the staff, using just-in-time translation to English. Why not? And of course, generally, again, who wouldn't want to translate automatically all the audio and all the video content that you have, just to deliver it to more students, make it more useful to just more people globally. This should be, I guess, an interesting prospect for education organizations. So we have a new service that came out at reInvent 2017. It's called Amazon Translate. It's still in preview, which means that you actually have to register to access it, but you can do that. So please join the preview. And there is a free tier for it, again, so you can test it for free up to a certain level. Translate will do real-time translation, just an API call away. Although it is based on deep learning and pretty complex technology, it is super easy to use. We have 12 language pairs from now, with more to come. So today you can translate from English to French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Arabic, and simplified Chinese, or from one of those 6 languages back to English. Okay, and 6 plus 6, that's 12. So more languages to come, of course, but you'll have to start from those. And we actually detect the source language automatically, so you don't have to do that. So someone could be typing French, and we would detect, okay, it's French. Let's translate it to English, and that just simplifies the whole experience. When it comes to transcription, we have another service, again, announced at reInvent 2017 in preview as well. It's called Transcribe, and it's the reverse operation from Poly. So you can now convert speech to text. So today it supports English and Spanish, again, with more languages to come. It will provide you with punctuation, formatting, timestamps, which are very important if you want to do video captions, of course. It will support high resolution audio and low resolution audio as well, like telephony audio. So we have a lot of customers who are operating call centers, and this is important for them, the ability to transcribed sound that is actually low fidelity. But any kind of phone call transcription, of course, could benefit from that. We'll recognize multiple speakers, so not the actual persons, but of course we'll be able to say, okay, this is speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, back to speaker 2, etc. And we could also inject some custom vocabulary to improve the speech-to-text recognition. So again, this is in preview, but please feel free to join it and test it and send us feedback. So we have a pretty large customer. I cannot give you the name. The name will be revealed in the next few days, I believe. So sorry about that. I'm not trying to be cute here, but this name will be revealed soon. And what this company is doing is they're capturing video lectures across the world, as you can see, in 30 countries for millions of students. And their goal is just to transcribe all of it. So transcribe all those video lectures and automatically generate a text transcription of all those video lectures and provide those to their customers, so educational organizations and universities, etc. And of course, once you have a transcription of that text, of that video, once you have the text equivalent of the video, then you can run natural language processing. You could use maybe Amazon Comprehend on that text. Again, extract entities, extract concepts, and just use those to run analytics, use those to index the content, etc., etc. So now you can see how this would work, right? Imagine a professor giving a speech, and in near real time, you have a transcription to text. This could be translated automatically and shared to non-English speakers really easily. Using Amazon Poly, you could even generate almost in real time a podcast with that content in multiple languages. Using Comprehend, you could extract information from that text, index it, publish it to your website. So that could be pretty amazing, actually, right? Literally, maybe 30 minutes after the class is over, it could be available in multiple languages, in text form, in the podcast form. It could be indexed on your website, etc., etc. So this, the reach that you would give to this content, the number of students that you would actually address with this would be so much larger, I suppose. Okay, let's move on to a different topic. Let's talk about chatbots. So, well, chatbots are popular. I mean, they're not only for education, but what could we do with those? So, of course, we could use them to answer questions from maybe prospective students and parents. That's just an easy way, 24/7, for a school or your university to provide answers to people. It could be even an Alexa skill deployed on Echo devices. Why not? You could use it on campus or within the school, actually, to simplify admin tasks and everyday life. This is probably a better way than creating tickets or just calling people. You could just talk to your chatbot and say, hey, I want an appointment with this person, this professor, or I need this admin task to be taken care of, and just talking to a chatbot is the simplest way to do it, I think. And this would be just a simple and intuitive communication channel between, again, professors and students. They could ask questions even if the professor is not in his office. You could say, hey, here's my question. The professor could maybe answer it later, or they could book appointments. Any kind of offline interaction, just to, again, fluidify the relationship between professors, students, administration, etc., etc. So we have a service called Amazon Lex, and it's pretty easy to use. You can just define the conversation between the user and the bot. The purpose of the conversation is to extract pieces of information that we call slots. And once all the slots have been fulfilled, then we can the bot will automatically invoke a piece of code running in the cloud to book the appointment or answer the question, etc., etc. Example of a customer using Lex. It's a help desk company called Freshdesk, and I think it's it's important because I'm guessing you have so many admin tasks, so many things to take care of on a large campus or in a large school, that maybe automating this with a chatbot is just an easy way to centralize everything and just provide better customer support to everybody, and just simplify ticket management and let the admin staff focus on the higher value stuff, the more important stuff. Here's another customer using a chatbot. It's an insurance company called Liberty Mutual, and again they use Lex to let their own customers get car insurance quotes using a bot. So you just describe the car you're interested in, the make and the year, and a few more things, and within a few sentences, you actually get a car quote for this. So again, just an example of an application bot that you could think of a million things to build with this. And now let's talk about the proper machine learning use cases. So let's go down one level and let's look at some more advanced ways that you could use your own data to improve your education business. So maybe you could use a machine learning model to find students that should really join university, or maybe students that should receive aid. Maybe you have thousands and thousands of applicants, and it's not so easy to select them manually, to figure out which ones are the ones you really need to help. Of course, you could use machine learning to build personalized content and learning experiences for your students based on their levels, their grades, their interests. Of course, just recommend some classes, recommend some content to help them learn better, faster, and be more successful. You could also predict if a student is going to be successful or not, and hopefully detect sooner that a student is in trouble and that they need, again, personalized help, that their counselor should talk to them, and the sooner, of course, you handle that, the better. Really, this customer, the Ivy Tech Community College, is doing this, so they're using their data set to build machine learning models to identify the behaviors, the patterns of successful and unsuccessful students. And amazingly, they can predict with over 80% accuracy which students are likely to fail within the first 2 weeks of the term. So that's pretty amazing. I was really surprised to see this number. So the early behavior of a student can actually let you know whether this person is going to be successful or not. And of course, you want them to be successful. So if you detect this unsuccessful behavior, you can actually go and help them. They used machine learning for other things. Maybe find struggling faculty, courses that are not going well, identifying problems across the board, and before they can actually impact students. So very, very advanced use case here by Ivy Tech, but nothing that you couldn't replicate with a little effort. So very, very advanced thing here. Another example is a company called Cirigo. So Cirigo, probably a familiar name, has built natural language processing on millions and millions of articles, and they put all those documents in a knowledge graph, so connecting concepts and defining relationships. And using these graphs, they can actually build personalized learning experiences for students. So again, machine learning at scale on AWS to help people learn better and faster. Okay, so very advanced use case here as well. And well, I had to mention Edcast. I'm sure you know that Edcast, and they call themselves the Netflix of learning. That's I guess that's a fair statement, and that's pretty much, that says it all, right? It's video content, video classes, It could be internal, external, and again, you can define learning path. You will get recommendations, just like Netflix, but for serious stuff, right? For learning. So very, very successful company. And of course, this is all based on machine learning. A few more examples. Maybe a little further away from students, but what about STEM promotion? That's important to me as well. We have this customer called Blue Spurs. They built an IoT kit, and at reInvent last December, they held a workshop with young students, and they integrated that kit with some of those services I mentioned, like Poly and Lex, and you can build fun stuff with this. So if you're dealing with younger students, AI and machine learning and those high-level services are a really interesting way to get them interested. Fun things can be built. Actually, I built one myself. I call it Johnny Pie. Maybe you get that reference. And actually, it's a Raspberry Pi robot. You can see the picture here in the middle. So it's a Raspberry Pi on wheels that I integrated with an Amazon Echo and several of our AI services. So I can give voice commands and move the robot and ask the robot to take pictures and etc., and recognize faces. So it's pretty fun. Everything's on my blog on Medium. So if you want to replicate this, you have all the instructions there. And if you need help, please feel free to get in touch. I would love to help you get this right. And if you want to build this for your students, it's pretty fun. And last but not least, this is a device that we announced at reInvent. It's called Deep Lens. It's a deep learning based camera. So it's a collaboration with Intel, and this lets you deploy image recognition models to the camera, so you can train your own models and become more familiar with image recognition technology. So it's really a developer education tool. You can pre-order it from Amazon.com, and it comes pre-equipped with a sample product, and this is what it looks like. So that's me on the right, playing at home with my deep lens and trying to educate my own kids on deep learning. Quite a challenge there. And this is the object detection model. So that you can see the chair is detected, the sofa is detected in the back, my laptop is detected as well, and of course my son and myself are detected. So again, this is one of the pre-existing models, but just a fun way to learn about image recognition technology and machine learning. So how do you get started with all of this? Well, one thing we should mention, of course, is data security, right? Because machine learning is based on data, and no one would want to put their data in those applications if security wasn't there. So it's our priority, and I'm guessing it's your priority. So when it comes to AWS, we're compliant with a large number of security and privacy certifications and regulations. You can go to aws.amazon.com/compliance for more information. So lots of federal, US federal regulations and some international ones. So again, more information on the website. When it comes to education, FERPA and COPPA are important. So we actually have an up-to-date white paper on FERPA compliance on AWS. So if that's part of your concerns, and I'm sure it is, please read this white paper for the best practices. And when it comes to COPPA, actually all of the services that are mentioned can be used for applications subjected to COPPA. Okay, so recognition, Poly, Lex. You will find more information on our website. So this is the machine learning stack. If you want to start discovering more, please head out to those URLs. The first one is the high-level one on machine learning, and the second one is the AI blog for the more technical inclined, code, examples, etc. That's where to start. You could also get some free training online at aws.training. There's an AI category that will take you through short introductions for all of the services that I described. So that's also a good way to start. And of course, do not forget that next week and the week after that, we'll keep diving into those services. So the next webinar will be technical, and we'll show you the services in action. We'll go through some demos, and then my colleagues will dive deeper on Poly and SageMaker for the deeper machine learning applications. Okay, so registration is open. Please head out to that URL. Okay, and don't forget, if you want to get started, my colleagues are waiting for your emails at edtechteam@amazon.com. Please use that subject to make sure we identify you correctly, and let us know what you want to build, and we'll get back to you in no time with help. And I want to thank you very much for listening. So you can follow me on Twitter at Jules Simon. That's me. And I blog regularly on Medium as well. So if you're interested in the more technical side of machine learning and deep learning, well, you'll find some articles on Medium as well. Thanks very much. I'll be happy to take your questions, and I hope to see you next week for the second webinar. Thank you so much.